Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info and warning before we begin. Today's video has two stories, both of them have updates, and the first story has mention of threat of self-harm in the update, so maybe you'd like to skip that part if it makes you uncomfortable. Now, let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throwaway11125447. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister's boyfriend to meet my son? This is long, bear with me. My 26 female sister, 28 female, began dating a guy around 7 months ago. I'm not sure exactly how they met, but he gave her a name at first that wasn't real. He eventually told her his real first name was Miles, and a couple of weeks later gave her his real last name. I thought this was sketchy, but it's not my business, and I figure I can just keep my distance. 2 weeks after they met, Thanksgiving rolls around and I'm hosting it at my house. She tells me she's bringing Miles to Thanksgiving. Doesn't ask, just tells me. I was like, I don't know, I don't really want the first time I meet this guy to be at my house. I bring up the name change thing, but she's upset with me anyways. My mom and dad take her side and I end up giving in and letting him come. He doesn't do anything too weird at Thanksgiving, but he has a lot of outlandish stories to share. I am nice enough to him anyways. I decide that since my family all seem to like him, that maybe I'm just not giving him a fair shot, and decide to go to lunch with the both of them a month or so later. Within 5 minutes, he says to me, "You know your grandpa has dementia, right?" I was shocked. My sister sat there nodding her head, and their evidence was my sister told grandpa something and he forgot, and asked a question about it the next day. Mind you, this man is 80 years old but is in otherwise great shape. He then proceeds to ask me about our family business finances, how much we make each year, just inappropriate questions that are not his business. Last month, I tell my cousins, who also work at the family business, the type of inquiries he was making and they ban him from the office. He was coming in for hours in the middle of the day. I take my cousin's side obviously. My dad tells me I need to mind my own effing business, and my sister is furious with me and avoids me for a while. When we talk again, I basically tell her that I cannot trust her boyfriend and do not want to be around him, and I cite the comment about our grandpa in my explanation. She says to me, "Wow, you are really hung up on the dementia thing, aren't you?" Oh, did I mention I've been pregnant this whole time? Last week, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. I'm starting to allow close family to come by the house and see him. She texts me and says, "Me and Miles are coming over to see the baby." I tell her, "You can come, but he is most definitely not allowed in my house or anywhere near my son." She tells me, "Fine, I'm not coming to see him either." And I respond, "Okay, that's your choice." Now my parents are mad at me for shutting her out and not allowing her to see my son, even though I specifically stated she was welcome on her own. I thought I was in the right, but my parents are just making me feel crazy. Am I the a-hole for drawing this boundary? I think I may be the a-hole because my family disagrees with my decision and now my sister won't come see my baby at all. This endless conflict is starting to wear me down and I'm wondering if I should just give in to keep the peace. What do y'all think? Well, OP, first of all, of course, not the a-hole. Your baby, your rules. Of course you wouldn't trust this guy who first lied about his name and then just starts inquiring about your family's finances? Like, who does that? In my opinion, only somebody that's really interested in taking a piece of the pie or seeing how they can get access to that pie. So now my question is your sister like the golden child or something that your parents overly protect or think she's like super special and everything she does is awesome or something like that, even if she does something really idiotic? Or is your sister one of those apples that didn't fall so far from the tree? And by the way, your dad telling you to mind your own effing business because you're worried about the family business? Yeah, that kind of says it all right there, doesn't it? So yeah, OP, you are most definitely not the a-hole. And what do you guys think about this whole thing? What is your opinion on Miles and what is your judgment on OP? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. MM172 says, not the a-hole. Yup, your grandpa's definitely got dementia, and my non-medical degree can spot it just that easily. Incidentally, how much did you say he was leaving all of you in the will? And is it cash or property? If your parents are really that desperate to marry your sister off despite all the red flags, or are already all in on whatever business opportunity Miles has pitched to them, that's their issue to deal with. Yours is focusing on your new family, and you set the guest list. Period. Internal set 6564 says, all of his moves are classic low sophisticated conman moves. If he was really playing a long con, he would have been much more subtitle. I think that's subtle. He is likely trying to do a leech where he takes more and more things from your family over time, without anyone really noticing. Oftentimes, folks can be convinced that the con man is helping them, and they are so deep in the web of lies, they can't see the truth. The first few things he was doing was a bump. Much like a shark, he was testing for a reaction. He was testing you regarding the dementia ploy to see if you would back him. You know X has dementia, right? Was his attempt to see if you would bite on social cues to follow his lead. It absolutely would lead to a conservator play. 1. Talk to a lawyer now. See what actions are allowed in your state to keep this guy away. 2. Talk with a lawyer about a personal investigator. If a PI is needed to find out his actual identity and what possible crimes he has already committed or has been accused of. 3. Understand that your parents may already be taken in by this guy. Your sister clearly is. He will continue to try to use them to neutralize you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep him away from your kid and out of your house. This guy's natural charm may cost you your relationship with your sister, at least for a time. Eventually, if you frustrate the guy long enough, he will leave, typically stealing as much as he can on the way out. Good groundwork on your part will help lead law enforcement to him sooner rather than later. Naturally, the best result would be if the lawyer or PI could determine if he has any outstanding warrants. That may not break your sister off of him, but it should help with your parents if that is the case. Not the a-hole, good luck. Fluffy Muffy 76 says, not the a-hole. You definitely aren't being an a-hole. Sometimes you should trust your instincts. And what is he doing hanging out at a place of business for hours at a time? Doesn't he have a job? Now, in regards to your last statement, if you should just give in and let him come over with your sister to be done with all the drama, well, that's entirely your call. I totally get that you don't like or trust him, but you need to decide if that's worth you losing your relationship with your sister. I mean, it's extremely unlikely he'll do any harm to your son. It's not like he's being left with him alone. It probably would have been better to frame it that you're still not feeling great and you don't really feel up to non-family members coming to the house yet. Maybe you could still frame it that way. Blame it on being postpartum. Again, it depends how much you value your relationship with your sister. And congratulations! And Opie responds, he supposedly has one, but around the time he was coming in a lot, we were told that he had some kind of injury and his work wouldn't let him come into work for a few weeks until he was cleared by a doctor or something. He works at a construction company, so it definitely could be a liability, but I don't know much else about all of that. Last week, he was supposedly told to stay away from work for 3 days because of a similar injury. This is all coming from my sister and her boyfriend, so I'm not sure how true all of this is. Additional information from OP's comments. I had to remove a good bit for character limit, so here's some more context. I'm honestly not sure if Miles is his real name or not. When we asked him why he lied about it at first, he said his mom is in the FBI and he was protecting her identity. Also, my grandpa doesn't trust him either and was fully behind the decision to ban him from the office. Now, they bought a fifth-wheel camper together like 2 months ago. My grandpa is very generous and gave them the down payment for it. And then shortly after that, his truck that they pull it with broke down. Not only did my sister pay for the repairs, but she got caught trying to use business funds to pay for it. And then traded in her brand new SUV for an older model diesel pickup truck. Something she has never mentioned wanting, LMAO. Oh, and before she decided to pay for the repairs, they cornered my grandpa in the back office and complained about how much the repairs would cost, etc. He was basically like, oh, that sucks. Well, good luck with that. And one more thing, she'd drive his truck to work in the morning, then fill up his tank with fuel for him. Then he'd come pick it up afterwards. She used business funds for that as well and racked up over $500 in fuel expenses on his truck alone. Wow, this guy is a lazy con man. I mean, saying that he didn't give you the right name first because he was protecting his mom's identity that works in the FBI? Well, he's basically saying that his mom is a NOC operative or a non-official cover operative. Otherwise, all FBI agents would need to protect their identity, right? But then he did give you his real name, so he blew her cover, basically putting his mom in danger. Anyways, I think the community gave OP the right judgment, and there was one commenter that gave her a lot of good advice. So now let's move on to the update to see what happened next and how the story ends. But before that, I gotta recommend another playlist for you guys to enjoy after this video, like this one that only has stories with updates on them. Now let's move on with the update. Thank you for all the comments. I took the advice I got and ran a background check on him. Fortunately, nothing came up, so we've kind of come up to the conclusion that he is just a grifter of epic proportions. Also, still not 100% sure what his real name is, so who knows how accurate it was. Anyway, I came across the opportunity to speak with his ex-girlfriend of 5 years. He was actually living with her when he met my sister and still very much with her during Thanksgiving of last year. He even brought my sister to her house on a couple of occasions when she wasn't there. She found out he was messaging 17 different women and found a second phone he was using. Another woman was paying the bill, so she kicked him out. A week later, he moved in with my sister. Shrug. I told her all this, and she was just mad at me for talking to his ex, and they are still together. He's been caught cheating on her since, but she'll just call the girl a floozy and make him block her. Another development that's happened is that my sister is now in a crazy amount of debt. She hasn't paid her mortgage in months, had her car repossessed, maxed out all her credit cards, and she even stole a lot of money from the business and a few family members. My parents are somehow still making excuses for her, miraculously. If it wasn't clear, I have nothing to do with her. She is still at work but got demoted to a less consequential role. They wanted to fire her, but she threatened to end her life if they did. I wish I had been there when that happened because I would have gotten her on an involuntary hold, but suggested to them that if she tries that again, to do just that. She needs serious help, or jail, I don't know, but unfortunately it is out of my hands. One last thing, I've made it this long without him meeting my son and plan on keeping it that way. Tear laughing smiley face. So at least I was successful there. I'm no longer trying to help her see the light as I kind of think they deserve each other now. She was not a good sister to me growing up, so I don't know why I tried for so long. Well, OP, you did what you could to help your extended family. Now it's in their hands, and whatever happens to your sister and that grifter, well, it's on them, right? Now you just need to focus on your nucleus family. All the best, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throwaway9. Am I the a-hole for dumbing down an English word to a non-English speaker? I was talking to a new co-worker who is from Thailand, and English is their second language. She has lived here for around 6 months and moved here with little English speaking skills. I would say she is at the very least proficient now and is improving every day. We are just co-workers, but I feel very proud to be part of her story in a weird way. So, her and I were talking about a customer who ordered a bunch of food for his wedding and essentially was being a groomzilla, refusing to pick it up and insisting on delivery out of our delivery range. I told my coworker how he was so nonchalant about everything up until he began demanding us to deliver. After saying that, I realized that my coworker probably might not have learned that word before. I learned it in middle school English class, so I don't blame her. I wasn't really sure if the exact word would make sense, so after I said it, I used 3 synonyms for it, like he was relaxed, not emotional, unaffected. She nodded and the conversation ended a couple of minutes later. Another co-worker later told me that she was overhearing our conversation. We work in a small place, so that makes sense. And that I was being patronizing and they could have used context clues to figure it out. I haven't really thought about that before, and now I'm starting to think I was being somewhat condescending. She is very hard to read, at least to me, and tends not to be super expressive, so I couldn't really tell in the conversation if she was offended or not. Now, I'm not sure if I was the a-hole. Please give me your honest opinion. At first, I thought I was in the right, but now I'm starting to think otherwise. OP, no, you weren't the a-hole, you weren't condescending, you were just trying to help a coworker because you thought she might not have understood a word. You didn't do it in a mocking way, you didn't have ill intentions to make her feel ignorant or anything like that. This thing actually happens to me a lot. As some of you know, I live in Germany, and German is not my native language, and I'm definitely not fluent on it. My German level, I'd say, is like socially decent at best. And I'm actually really thankful that when somebody sees my eyes get wide and a big question mark over my head when somebody's saying something, that they would explain it in simpler words. This way, I can make associations and increase my vocabulary. So no, you're not the a-hole, you shouldn't feel bad about this, and if you can keep doing it, go ahead. This way, you are helping your coworker. As long as you're not doing it to mock them or insult them, then it's absolutely cool. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What is your judgment on what OP did? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what their judgment was. Vegetable Swimming 73 says, it's definitely possible to be an accidental jerk in this way depending on your tone and the person's idiosyncrasies. But as a language learner, it is amazing when people do this. And as a multilingual person in a multilingual family that includes language educators, someone is always doing this. If you are worried, ask the English language learner, not an outside observer, not the a-hole. And OP responds, very true. I couldn't really tell how she felt, but I kinda just said it in the conversation with the same tone. I didn't really feel like the conversation mood shifted or anything. I'm going to talk to her next shift we have together and apologize even if she didn't feel offended. I think it's better to just communicate in case. Thank you. Duck Fatty says, not the a-hole. I do online language exchange and I do this with people. They also do it with me when we're speaking in their native language, my target language. I never thought of it as rude. And OP responds, that was my intention. I didn't want to just kinda leave her with a weird word and not much else, but I did over-explain. I could most definitely see that being an a-hole. Thank you. Look at Narnia says, no a-holes here. People who learn a language as a second language don't learn it in the same order as natives. They may know some difficult words that not even you know, and then miss some simple words that you'd expect everyone to know. So don't expect that you know what words they know or don't know. So while you probably were a bit patronizing, you didn't mean it to be rude. In the future, don't explain unless asked, but make sure that the people are comfortable asking you for clarification. Well, the overwhelming majority of the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. He didn't have bad intentions or anything like that, and he was just trying to help his coworker out. But even though everybody was telling him he wasn't the a-hole, he still wanted to apologize. So let's move on to the update to see how that went. Hey y'all, I really appreciate the insight a lot of you gave me and figured I'd do a small update. I talked to my coworker. I asked if I ever made her uncomfortable for teaching her words and if it's been condescending to her. She told me she appreciated my effort and it doesn't make her uncomfortable. She says she likes having reinforcements of some kind. I told her to let me know if I'm ever out of line and she agreed. I recommended some good English shows she can watch that will help her, that I think she will like, and during closing yesterday we watched my favorite movie, Legally Blonde, and next closing we are watching her favorite movie, Bangkok Traffic Love Story. All in all, I think we have truly strengthened our friendship and it makes me very happy. I talked to my other coworker who initially had an issue with my teaching English words to my Thai coworker. I told her I appreciated her comment, but we cleared it up. She apologized to me and told me she has had a lot of issues with white people correcting her as she is Mexican American, and despite living in the US her entire life, people do still correct her on her English. We had a long conversation about immigration and how they are treated in America, and I truly think I've gained a new understanding of life as a non-white American. While my situation was welcome, I will refrain from correcting other people unless they give me the green light. So, talking with the both of them, I invited both of them downtown to eat at an authentic Thai restaurant. I'm glad everything worked out and we all are building our relationship with each other. Thanks again, AITA. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a happy update because apparently everyone is happy, so good for you for clearing everything up. And as a side note, Legally Blonde is an awesome movie. I learned the word ammonium thioglycolate from that. Thanks for sharing, OP, and all the best. Take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.